Suck out the venom, it's really swollen. The cowboy already did. And frozen shock. The sand on Red Mesa didn't move like sand back on Earth. It behaved more like powder, light as ash, and it slid in slow waves when the wind changed direction. Cole Mercer watched it from the porch of his ranch house while the last of the evening heat climbed down from the rocks. 2 suns had set behind the distant ridge, leaving a thin blue dusk that made every shadow look deeper than it should. Cole was a cowboy, even if the world around him had new names and new rules. He still wore a worn hat. He still fixed fences, checked water lines, and rode out at dawn. The cattle out here were not the same as the ones in old history books. They were bigger, tougher, with thick hides that could handle the desert cold at night and the sharp grasses during the day. But they behaved like cattle. They followed paths. They needed space. And if you treated them right, they trusted you. Cole liked that kind of life. Quiet. Honest. Predictable. That was why the sound in the sky made him stand up fast. It wasn't thunder. There were no storms this season. It was a tearing noise, like cloth ripping, followed by a low boom that shook the porch boards under his boots. Cole turned toward the open plain and narrowed his eyes. A bright streak cut across the darkening sky and vanished beyond the far dunes. For a moment the world became silent again, as if holding its breath. Cole's ranch sat in a wide valley between rock bluffs. The nearest town was a long ride away, and most folks didn't visit unless they needed beef, water, or repairs. Whatever just fell from the sky did not belong here. That meant 2 things to Cole. It might be dangerous, and it might be someone in trouble. He didn't like trouble, but he didn't ignore someone who might be dying out there either. Cole walked inside, grabbed his canteen, and checked his gear with quick, practiced hands. He took a coil of rope, a small med kit, and a short rifle that looked old but worked better than most fancy weapons. He also clipped a compact scanner to his belt. It wasn't military grade, but it could tell him if something was radioactive, leaking fuel, or carrying a signal. Then he went to the barn. His horse, Dust, lifted its head when Cole stepped in. Dust wasn't a regular horse either. It was a sturdy, gene-bred mount designed for long travel and low water. But it had the same calm eyes and patient strength Cole loved. Cole brushed a hand along Dust's neck and saddled up. "Come on," Cole said softly. "We got a job." They rode out into the open. The desert at night had a strange beauty. The stars were sharper here, bright and thick like spilled salt across black cloth. A pale moon hung low, and small glowing plants dotted the ground in patches, like tiny lanterns. Cole kept his eyes wide and his ears open. This land held creatures that hunted after dark. Most avoided humans, but a few did not. After nearly an hour, Cole reached the edge of a shallow crater. The sand had been blasted away, leaving scorched rock in a circle. Smoke rose in thin lines. Something metallic lay half-buried at the bottom. Cole reined Dust back and pulled out his scanner. The screen showed heat and a weak energy signal. Not enough to fry him, but enough to warn him this was not a harmless piece of junk. He climbed down and moved carefully, boots sliding in the loose sand. It was an escape pod. Cole had seen pictures of pods in old news feeds. The kind used when ships failed, the kind that could save a life, if it landed right. This one looked damaged, cracked along the side, with a long burn mark. One small light blinked in a pattern, faint and slow, like a dying heartbeat. Cole approached the hatch. "Anybody in there?" he called, voice firm but not harsh. There was no answer at first. Then a weak sound came from inside, something between a cough and a gasp. Cole knelt by the hatch and tried the manual release. It was jammed. He set his rifle down, grabbed a pry tool from his belt, and worked it into the edge. He pushed with all his strength. The hatch gave with a sharp snap. A smell rushed out. Hot metal, burned wiring, and something else sharp and bitter. Inside, curled against the seat, was a woman. Not human. She looked roughly human in shape, but her skin had a faint silver tone and her hair was dark and glossy like wet stone. Her face was delicate yet strong, with high cheekbones and a jaw that looked built for survival. Her eyes were half closed and her breathing was shallow. Cole's first thought was simple. She's hurt. His second thought came right after. If she's here, someone might be looking for her. He pushed both thoughts aside and focused on what mattered. Her leg was stretched out awkwardly and the lower part was swollen badly. The skin around it was darker, almost bruised, and there were 2 small puncture marks near the ankle. Around the marks, veins stood out in a pattern like black threads. Venom. Cole had seen venomous bites out here before, on animals and even on careless ranch hands. It always looked wrong, like the body was fighting something it didn't understand. The alien woman's eyes opened just a little. She tried to speak. What came out was rough and broken, but clear enough to understand. Venom, she whispered. It spreads. Please. Where did it get you? She swallowed hard. Crawling thing in the pod. It hid, bit me. Cole's mind moved fast. Some desert creatures could sneak into anything warm. If the pod landed near a nest, that would do it. He opened his medkit and scanned her leg. The scanner beeped and displayed warning symbols. It didn't have full data for her species, but it could tell the poison level was rising fast. Cole's throat tightened. This is bad. The woman grabbed his wrist with surprising strength, even in her weak state. Her fingers were long and cool. You must pull it out, she said. Or I will, sleep and not wake. Cole looked at the swelling again. The medkit had basic antitoxins, but they were designed for local creatures and human blood. He didn't know if they'd work on her. He tried anyway. He prepared a dose, then hesitated. If her biology was different, the wrong drug might make it worse. The woman's eyes locked on his, sharp even through pain. She spoke slowly, like each word cost her effort. Old way, she said. Mouth. Take it out. He knew that method from old stories. Cowboys and soldiers. People who had nothing else. But he also knew the truth. It was risky and didn't always work. Still, he didn't have many choices. The swelling was climbing higher. Her breathing was getting weaker. Cole looked at her face. She wasn't asking for comfort. She wasn't playing the game. She was fighting for her life. All right, he said quietly. I'll try. He helped her shift so her leg was easier to reach. He took a strip of cloth and tied it above the bite to slow the spread. Then he cleaned the area as best he could. The woman's hand trembled against the pod seat. Her lips were pale. She whispered something under her breath, maybe a prayer, maybe a warning. Cole leaned down. He placed his mouth near the puncture marks and drew in carefully, spitting into the sand again and again. The taste was bitter and metallic, like rust mixed with burned herbs. He kept going, trying not to panic, trying not to think about what the venom could do to him. After a few pulls, the black thread-like veins around the wound seemed to fade slightly. The swelling stopped growing as fast. Cole wiped his mouth and sat back, chest rising and falling. He felt lightheaded for a moment, then steady again. He reached for his canteen, took a sip, and rinsed his mouth. Then he looked at his hands, and stopped. A faint mark was forming on the inside of his wrist, right where she had grabbed him. It wasn't dirt or blood. It was a thin, glowing line, pale blue, like a tiny river of light under his skin. Cole blinked, thinking his eyes were playing tricks in the dusk. The glow remained time. Her head lifted and her eyes widened. The fear in her face was different from the fear of pain. This was shock. Real shock. No, she whispered, voice suddenly clearer. You, did it. Did what? She looked at him as if he had stepped into a trap without seeing it. The bond, she said, almost to herself. That act. It is not only healing. It is a vow. Cole stared at the glowing line on his wrist. More lines were forming, spreading slowly like branches. He felt a strange warmth in his chest, and for a heartbeat he could sense her panic as if it was his own. He backed away a little, confused and alarmed. Lady, I didn't vow anything. I was saving your life. Her eyes stayed locked on him, and her voice dropped into a stunned whisper. On my world, she said, only a life partner can do that and live. The law is old. The meaning is sacred. He had never cared much for laws made by people in high places, but he knew enough to understand one thing. If what she said was true, he had just crossed a line he didn't even know existed. Before Cole could ask more, the scanner on his belt chirped loudly. A new signal had appeared. Multiple signals. Coming fast. Cole turned his head toward the horizon. Far away, small lights moved across the dunes like a line of fireflies, too steady, too organized to be natural. Search drones. Someone was already looking for her. Cole grabbed his rifle and looked back into the pod at the alien woman. Kalis, who was still watching the glowing mark on his skin like it was a storm about to break. Cole's quiet life had just ended, and the desert night was about to get dangerous. Cole's heart thumped as the desert wind whipped around him. The lights in the distance weren't just random, they moved in formation. He had seen drones in the past, small, precise hunting machines, but never in this number. They were closing in fast, scanning the sands, searching for the pod he had found. "Kalis," he said quietly, using the name the woman had finally whispered to him. "We need to move." Now, her leg was wrapped as best as he could, but her movements were slow and careful. Cole could see the pain in her face, and he knew every step risked worsening the venom's effect. Yet there was no choice. Staying meant capture, or worse. Cole led her to Dust, who waited calmly nearby. The horse's ears flicked at the hum of the approaching drones, but the animal trusted Cole's judgment. He lifted Kalis onto Dust's back carefully, securing her as best he could. The glowing lines on his wrist pulsed faintly, almost like the desert stars were mirroring them. He didn't understand what was happening, only that it had something to do with her, and it felt important, dangerous, and sacred, all at once. Cole mounted behind her, scanning the horizon. The drones moved closer, their searchlights cutting through the dusk. He spurred Dust forward, racing across the desert in a path he knew well. Years of mapping the hidden passes and canyon trails gave him an advantage. The drones were fast, but the desert had secrets that only someone like him could use. "Why are they after you?" Cole asked, trying to keep his tone calm. His voice sounded too loud in the open night. Kalis leaned slightly, wincing. "They want the bond. My people, some think it is dangerous. They want me back controlled. Or gone." Cole frowned. The words made sense in a way he understood. People always wanted control over what they feared. The unknown. Power. He tightened his grip on Dust's reins. "Then we can't let them get you." The ride was rough. The ground shifted under Dust's hooves, and the air was thick with dust stirred by the animal. Kalis held on to him, her hand brushing his chest occasionally. It wasn't a gesture of trust. He could feel the fear in her, but of necessity. She needed his strength, and for now, he needed her alive. As they approached a narrow canyon pass, Cole slowed Dust. This was a good spot. The walls were high and uneven, perfect for ambush or hiding. The drones would have difficulty maneuvering here. He scanned the shadows, noting every rock and crevice. "They'll follow us here," he said, "but they won't know all the turns." "I know them." Kalis tilted her head, looking at him through the dark. "You are human?" Her voice was faint, tinged with disbelief. "And yet, you move like a protector. Strong, wise." Cole let out a short laugh. "Protector? I'm just a cowboy who doesn't like being caught off guard. That's all." But inside, Cole felt a strange connection to her. The glow on his wrist pulsed again. It was stronger now, like a heartbeat, and he could almost feel her presence in a way he didn't understand. When she moved slightly, he felt it. When she winced, he winced. The bond was real, whatever it was, and it was not simple. The first drone appeared at the mouth of the canyon, small and humming, scanning with a bright white light. Cole raised his rifle and fired carefully, aiming at the sensor. The drone wobbled, sparks flying, then crashed into the canyon wall. Dust leapt forward at the noise, carrying them deeper into the pass. More drones followed, but Cole was ready. Using the narrow turns and uneven rocks, he guided Dust in zigzags, making it difficult for the machines to follow. Kalis gritted her teeth, holding on tightly. Her breathing was uneven, but the venom seemed to be slowing, either from Cole's efforts earlier or from the bond that now linked them. Finally, they reached a shallow alcove hidden by shadows and a low rock overhang. Cole slowed Dust to a walk, letting the animal rest. Kalis slid from the saddle, her legs shaking but no longer in immediate danger. Cole lowered himself next to her, checking the glowing mark on his wrist again. It was spreading slightly up his arm now, thin lines branching outward. The glow felt warm, but strange, almost alive. He didn't know what it meant, but Kalis did. Her eyes were fixed on it, wide, full of awe and fear. "They will come," she whispered. "You have interfered with things you do not understand. They will not stop. They will not forgive." Cole studied her. "Then we need a plan. We can't just keep running forever." Kalis nodded. She touched her leg lightly, testing the injury. "We can reach a safe place. A settlement not far. Few know of it, few humans, but they will help if you guide me." Cole frowned. Settlements were small outposts scattered across the desert. Most were just clusters of buildings with people who barely trusted outsiders. But it was the only option. If the hunters caught them in open desert, survival was impossible. They mounted again, moving cautiously toward the hidden settlement. Along the way, Cole noticed more changes in Kalis. Her eyes, once distant and cautious, now followed his movements closely. Her breathing had steadied. The venom had slowed, and the bond, whatever it was, had strengthened. For the first time, Cole realized something he hadn't expected. He could feel her thoughts in fragments. Not words exactly, but emotions. Fear, urgency, gratitude, and curiosity. It was faint, like a whisper in the back of his mind, but it was there. "You feel that?" Cole asked, almost to himself. Kalis looked at him sharply.
What?
"That connection," he said. "When you moved, I felt it. When you breathed, I felt it. It's like your emotions are here. With me." Her lips parted slightly, as if to answer, but she only shook her head. The bond, it is rare, dangerous, and yet necessary. Cole didn't understand all of it, but he understood enough. Whatever this was, they were linked now. Whether he liked it or not, their fates were tied together. As they neared the settlement, the first signs of civilization appeared. Dim lights, a low wall, and faint smoke from chimneys. Cole slowed dust, scanning the area. The place looked abandoned, but he had learned long ago not to trust appearances. "Stay close," he murmured to Kalis. "We don't know what's waiting inside." They dismounted near the outer edge, hiding in shadows. Cole checked his rifle one more time, then signaled her to follow. Quietly, they moved toward the wall. The gates were small, designed for people on foot or on small mounts. A single guard post stood empty, the door swinging slightly in the wind. Cole gestured for Kalis to stay low. "Looks quiet, but keep your eyes open." As they entered, they were met with silence. The settlement was deserted at first glance, but Cole could see subtle movements in the shadows. Curtains shifted. Doors creaked. Someone, or something, was watching. A figure stepped forward. A human man, mid-30s, rugged, with a long coat that hung from his shoulders. He carried a rifle but didn't raise it. Instead, he studied them with sharp, calculating eyes. Cole spoke first. "We need help. She's hurt. Venom from a desert predator, and we're being followed." The man raised an eyebrow. "Followed? By what?" "Machines, drones. Not friendly. Don't know who sent them, but they're fast and they're dangerous." The man studied Kalis. His eyes widened slightly, not in fear, but recognition. He spoke softly. "You're one of them." "A Kalis?" Kalis nodded, grimacing slightly from her injury. "Yes, I need help." "They want me. They will not stop." The man nodded slowly. "You're safe here, for now. But you're lucky they didn't track you straight to the gates. This settlement is hidden. Not many know the paths." Cole relaxed slightly, letting dust rest. Kaylee stumbled a little and he steadied her. The glow on his wrist pulsed once more, stronger than before, almost like a heartbeat. Kalis's eyes flicked to it again, wide, wary, but no longer fearful. "You saved me," she said quietly. "And the bond, it will not fade. Not now." Cole didn't answer immediately. He didn't know what to say. He only knew one thing. Whatever had begun with the venom, the rescue, and the glowing marks on his skin, it had changed everything. Their journey was far from over. The drones would come again. The people hunting her would not give up. And whatever this bond was, it tied him to her in ways he could not yet understand. For the first time in years, Cole felt that quiet life he loved slipping away. But he also felt something new, a purpose beyond the ranch, beyond the desert, beyond the stars. As the two settled into the safety of the hidden settlement, the desert night stretched endlessly above them. Somewhere beyond the dunes, the drones were still scanning, still searching. Cole tightened his grip on Dust's reins, his eyes flicking to Kalis. "We'll figure this out," he said quietly. "Together." Kalis looked at him, her silver skin glowing faintly under the twin moons. For the first time there was a spark of trust in her eyes. "Together," she whispered. And in the darkness, the desert seemed to pause, as if listening to the bond that had begun, knowing it would change the frontier world forever. The hidden settlement was quiet, but Cole knew calm never lasted long in a desert like this. He had learned from years of riding alone that danger often waited silently, watching, measuring, deciding when to strike. Dust pawed the ground nervously, sensing tension in the air. Cole helped Kaylee's inside a small hut near the edge of the settlement. It was simple, stone walls, a low roof, and a few mats, but it offered some cover. He laid her gently on one of the mats, checking her swollen leg again. The venom had slowed but was not gone. The glow on his wrist pulsed softly, like a heartbeat in the darkness. Kalis looked at him, her silver skin shimmering faintly in the pale light of the twin moons. "The bond, it grows stronger," she whispered. "I can feel part of your thoughts, your heart. It is frightening and necessary." Cole nodded slowly. He had felt it too, in fragments, small bursts of her fear and her strength intertwining with his own. Didn't understand it, but he could not deny it. Somehow, by saving her, they were connected. He swallowed hard. "I don't know what this is, but we need to focus on staying alive first." Kalis shifted slightly, wincing from the pain. "The hunters, they will not wait long. They know you are here. They will come for me." Cole rose and walked to the small window, scanning the dark desert. The horizon was empty, but he knew better than to trust appearances. The drones had found their trail once. They could find it again. We'll have to prepare. You need to be able to move if they attack. We can't hide forever. I have never met a human like you. Brave, reckless, wise, and yet gentle, Cole grunted. Gentle gets people killed out here, but sometimes it helps. He sat down beside her, pressing his hand lightly over the glowing mark on his wrist. "Whatever this bond is, it's part of the fight now, and we fight together." "Then, quietly," she said, "then we must learn. Quickly. Your world and mine are very different. You must understand what the hunters are capable of." Cole leaned back, rubbing his forehead. "Start talking." Kalis took a slow breath. "On my world, we are warriors. Scouts. Sometimes royals. My people value strength, law, and bloodlines. There are factions, those who obey and those who seek power at any cost. I was sent here to gather information, but I discovered a secret, and now they want me. If they capture me, the knowledge I carry can be used for war, or worse." Cole frowned. "Why do they care about it? The bond, it is rare. It is supposed to unite lives, but they fear it. They fear a human could survive it and thrive. They believe the union of our species through the bond could change things. Their rules, their control, it would be broken." Cole let the words sink in. He had lived his life among humans, tending cattle, riding the deserts, avoiding trouble. But the universe had a way of dragging men like him into trouble whether they wanted it or not. Now he was bound to someone from a distant world, hunted by people he could not even imagine. He stood abruptly.
"We can't sit here. They'll come."
"We have to move before they find us. Show me the way to a safe place." Kalis nodded, wincing again as she shifted. "There is a canyon farther north. If you know of it. Water, shelter, and old defenses left by humans who came before." Cole took a deep breath and guided dust outside. The night air was cold and still, but he could feel tension in the darkness. The glowing line on his wrist pulsed more strongly now. It wasn't just a mark, it was a warning. They rode slowly at first, avoiding open plains, using shadows and rock formations for cover. The bond between Cole and Kalis was strange. He could sense her fear and her determination. She could sense his focus and his caution. The connection made them move almost instinctively together, reacting faster than either could alone. Hours passed. The desert stretched endlessly, but finally the canyon appeared, carved deep into the rocks. A narrow path led down, almost hidden from the plain.
Cole slowed dust, keeping his eyes on the dark horizon. "This is it."
"Stay low. We don't know if they're following." Kalis slid from the saddle, steadying herself on the rocks. Cole helped her down, careful not to strain her leg. The canyon walls were steep, but the path wound gently, offering some cover. Small glowing plants lined the edges, faint light reflecting off her silver skin. As they moved deeper, Cole noticed something strange. The marks on his wrist were spreading further, almost like tiny roots creeping along his arm. They pulsed softly in rhythm with Kalis's breathing. It wasn't painful, but it was real, and he could feel strength flowing through him, faster reflexes, sharper awareness. Kalis noticed his hesitation. "It is part of the bond. Do not fear it. It will help you. Help us." Cole nodded. He didn't fully understand, but he could feel the truth. The bond had given him a gift, a link that allowed him to fight, to survive, and maybe to protect Kalis in ways a normal human could not. They reached a small clearing within the canyon. A ruined outpost stood there, walls half collapsed, but still enough to provide shelter. Cole led Kalis inside, scanning carefully. Nothing moved yet, but the silence was heavy, waiting. Suddenly a faint hum echoed through the canyon. Cole stiffened. Drones. They had tracked them again. He moved Kaylee's behind the wall. The hum grew louder, accompanied by faint lights bouncing off the canyon walls. "They're close," Kalis whispered, her hand brushing his arm. The glow on his wrist flared as if reacting to the danger. Cole checked his rifle, loading it silently. "Stay low. Don't move until I say." The first drone appeared at the edge of the clearing, small and fast, scanning with sharp white beams. Cole fired, hitting its sensor. Sparks flew, and it crashed into a rock, spinning. Dust moved instinctively, but Cole held it still. More drones followed, moving in patterns that suggested coordination. Cole and Kaylee's ducked behind the wall, hearts pounding. She whispered something he could feel rather than hear. A warning, a thought. "They know we are here. They will push forward. Be ready." The bond pulsed stronger now. He could sense her focus, her fear, her resolve. He raised his rifle, aiming at the next drone, then hesitated for a fraction of a second. He could sense its movement before it happened, almost like a premonition. The bullet hit, and the drone spun out of control. "Keep moving," Cole whispered. They slipped through the ruins, deeper into the canyon, using shadows and debris for cover. Each time they paused, the glowing marks on his skin pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. It was unnerving, but it was helping. Finally, they reached a more secure chamber within the ruins. Cole helped Kaylee's down, checking her leg. The venom had slowed further, but she was exhausted. He could feel it in her, the bond taking energy from both of them. "They will not stop," Kalis said quietly. "The hunters, the drones, they will follow until they have me, or until I die." Cole swallowed.
"Then we don't wait for them. We prepare."
"We fight, and we survive. Together." Kalis looked at him, eyes wide, and nodded. The bond pulsed once more, bright and warm, linking them in ways neither fully understood. Somewhere beyond the canyon, the drones moved, scanning, hunting. But Cole and Kalis had something they did not expect, a connection, a bond, and the will to fight together. Cole tightened his grip on the rifle and looked at her. "Tomorrow we make our stand. Tonight we rest. But remember, whatever comes, we face it together." Kalis smiled faintly, exhausted but resolute. "Together," she whispered. And in the darkness, the glow on Cole's wrist reflected the twin moons. The bond had begun to grow stronger. It was no longer just a mark. It was a warning, a power, and a promise. The hunters would come, the desert would challenge them, and the bond would be tested like never before. But Cole Mercer the cowboy had never been one to back down from a fight, and now neither was Kalis. The desert sky was beginning to lighten with the first hints of dawn when Cole woke. Dust stirred beside him, snorting softly, ears flicking toward the canyon mouth. Kalis lay against the wall of the ruined chamber, her breathing slow but steady. The venom in her leg had almost stopped spreading, thanks to Cole's efforts and whatever strange effect the bond had on them both. Cole stretched, checking the glowing lines on his wrist. They were brighter now, extending up his arm and across his chest. He didn't understand it completely, but he could feel strength and awareness flowing through him. When Kalis stirred, he could sense her thoughts clearly: fear, determination, and the quiet hope that they could survive what was coming. "We need to move," he said softly. "The drones won't wait for sunrise." Kalis nodded, shifting carefully. "I can stand," she said. "The bond, it helps me. It makes the pain bearable." Cole reached for her arm, steadying her. Together, they moved toward the narrow canyon exit. The ruins offered cover, but they couldn't stay hidden forever. Beyond the rocks, the open desert stretched for miles, perfect for ambush if the hunters were already tracking them. He scanned the horizon. There they were, a small fleet of drones hovering low, their lights cutting through the morning haze. Behind them, a taller figure rode, human-like, armored in reflective material that gleamed in the twin suns. Cole squinted. The rider moved with purpose, scanning every inch of the desert. He wasn't just a hunter, he was a commander. Cole tightened his grip on Dust's reins. "We have no choice. We fight or get caught. There's no other way." Kalis looked at him, silver eyes wide. You understand battle?" "I know enough to survive, and that's what we're going to do. Together." The bond pulsed along his arm, thrumming like a heartbeat. It carried Kalis's focus into him, and his into her. He could feel her fear and determination, but also something else, a spark of trust. They weren't just linked physically, their minds were brushing against each other in flashes. giving each the ability to anticipate movements, sense danger, and act faster than normal. They rode out of the canyon, Dust's hooves pounding the ground. The drones detected them immediately, spinning into formation, scanning the desert with deadly precision. The commander raised his hand and the drones split, closing in from both sides. Cole guided Dust in a sharp zigzag, using the terrain to shield them from the first attack. Kalis leaned low, trying to stabilize herself, but the bond gave her a strange sense of control. She could anticipate Cole's movements before he acted, shifting her weight just in time. The first drone struck, and Cole fired. Sparks flew, and it fell into the sand with a crash. But more came, faster now, swarming around them like angry hornets. "Hold steady!" Cole shouted. Kalis, keep low. She pressed against his back, hand brushing his shoulder. He could feel the energy from the bond coursing through him, sharpening his senses. He saw the next drone's movement before it happened, sidestepped and fired, taking it down cleanly. Dust leapt over a small ridge, carrying them into a safer path. The commander dismounted near the ridge, moving silently toward them. He had a weapon, sleek and unfamiliar, and his movements were fast. Cole raised his rifle, aiming, but then paused. The bond pulsed sharply. He felt Kalis's mind warning him, not with words, but with intent. The commander was powerful, but predictable if he moved too early. Cole waited. Dust shifted beneath him, muscles tensed. The commander struck, rushing forward, weapon raised. Cole fired at just the right moment, a shot that grazed the man's armor, slowing him but not stopping him entirely. The man snarled, backing off slightly, retreating to signal the drones. Kalis whispered, "They will not stop. The bond must help more." Then let it. The glowing lines along his arm flared, brighter than ever. He could feel Kalis's presence fully now, like a wave of energy connecting them. Reflexes sharpened, every sense expanded. The next drone moved to flank them, and Cole sidestepped before it could react. Kalis anticipated his movement and shifted Dust's weight in perfect timing. They moved as one, the bond synchronizing their actions. The commander advanced again, but this time Cole and Kalis were ready. He fired, hitting the drone near him. She pushed Dust, moving faster than the desert should allow, weaving through the remaining drones. Sparks flew, lights blinked, but neither Cole nor Kalis faltered. Finally, they reached a narrow cliffside trail. The commander tried to follow, but the terrain was treacherous. One wrong step and he would fall. Cole realized this was their chance. He fired at the last drone, disabling it, then moved quickly, leading Kalis to a rocky overhang. They dismounted, panting. Dust stood still, ears flicking toward the desert. The commander and drones were visible in the distance, regrouping, but they couldn't pursue without risking the cliff. Kalis looked at Cole, her silver skin glinting in the sun. "The bond, it works. You survive because of it. I feel your strength, your courage, your choices. They protect me. It's not just me, it's us. Together we're stronger than anything they bring." For a long moment neither spoke. The wind blew gently, carrying the distant hum of the drones. Then Kalis touched his arm lightly, where the glowing lines throbbed. "We cannot stay here forever. They will find another path. We must move to a safer place, somewhere hidden." Cole nodded. "I know a canyon farther west, deeper, narrower. No one knows it, but me and a few old maps. If we can get there, we might have a chance to rest. Plan." Kalis smiled faintly, a mixture of exhaustion and relief. "Then we go. Together." They mounted again, moving slowly but carefully through the cliffside trail. The bond pulsed along Cole's arm, sending him warnings before danger appeared, letting him anticipate Kalis's movements. For the first time, he felt almost invincible, not because of the desert or the rifle or the horse, but because they were connected. Hours later, they reached the canyon Cole remembered from years of exploring. It was deep and narrow, almost impossible to see from the plains. Water ran in a small stream, and the canyon walls offered natural defense. They settled Dust near the water, giving the horse a chance to rest. Kalis slid from the saddle, wincing slightly. "We are safe for now," she said. Cole studied the canyon. It was perfect. High walls, hidden paths, and room to set traps if needed. He smiled faintly. Not forever, but long enough to plan, and long enough to heal. "I owe you my life. And yet, the bond, it is more than life. It is connection, survival, trust, strength." Cole reached for her hand, feeling the energy from the bond pulse between them. We've been through worse, you and I. This is just another challenge. We survive together. The bond flared briefly, almost like it recognized the promise. The glowing lines on his skin pulsed in rhythm with Kalis's breathing. It was no longer a warning. It was a signal. They were ready. As the twin suns climbed higher, casting long shadows through the canyon, Cole realized something he hadn't before. He had started as a simple cowboy, alone on a desert world, but now the universe had thrown him into something far bigger, dangerous, strange, and extraordinary. Kalis, once a fleeing alien scout, now relied on him not just for protection, but for guidance, for understanding, and for partnership. The bond had given them both a new strength, one that could not be broken by drones, by hunters, or by desert creatures. Cole took a deep breath. "Rest now," he said. "We have fought the first wave. Tomorrow we figure out how to keep the rest away. And we survive." Kalis nodded, settling near the stream, her eyes reflecting the water and the twin suns. "Together," she whispered again. Cole watched the canyon, feeling the bond, feeling the strange energy that connected him to Kaylee's. The hunters might come again. The desert might challenge them, but they had something the machines and the enemies could not understand. They had each other. And in a world of danger, across deserts and twin suns, that might be enough. The canyon remained quiet, almost peaceful, but Cole knew it was only the calm before the storm. Whatever came next, he would face it, and Kaylee's would face it with him. Together, they had survived Venom, drones, and a desert that never forgave weakness. And together, they would survive what came next.